The shuttle hummed softly as it pierced the purple haze of Zethuria's atmosphere. Captain Elias Ward gripped the edge of his seat, staring out at the alien landscape below. Towering spires of crystal-like structures glowed faintly in the twilight, their lights shifting with the wind. Dense forests stretched in every direction, dotted with rivers that shimmered in colors he had no names for. The planet felt alive in a way he had never experienced before, almost as if the land itself watched him. Elias took a deep breath, reminding himself why he had volunteered for this mission. Humanity had finally begun reaching beyond the stars, not as conquerors but as negotiators and learners. His assignment was clear: bond with an Aelorian representative to facilitate understanding between the two species. And yet, as the shuttle descended toward the grand crystalline city in the distance, a knot of unease tightened in his stomach. A soft chime indicated that the shuttle had landed. The door hissed open, and Elias stepped onto the smooth surface, immediately feeling the difference in gravity. It was slightly lighter than Earth's, and each step felt almost dreamlike, as if he were walking on a surface somewhere between solid and fluid. "Welcome, Captain Ward," a voice said, melodic yet sharp, carrying a tone that demanded both respect and attention. Elias turned, and there she stood. Leora, the Aelorian he was assigned to bond with, looked nothing like any creature he had ever seen. Her skin shimmered with a faint iridescence, reflecting the soft light of the city. Her eyes were large and multifaceted, like crystal lenses, capable of seeing more than he could imagine. She moved with fluid grace, each motion precise, deliberate, as if she were always aware of herself and her surroundings. Elias bowed slightly. "It's an honor to meet you, Leora. I hope I can be a capable partner in this process." Actions, those carry weight. Leora guided Elias through the intricacies of Aelorian society, their social hierarchies, their communication methods, their rituals of bonding. Unlike human relationships, the Aelorian bond was not about emotion or companionship in the way he had understood it. It was a deeply biological and neurological exchange that created a connection of understanding, trust, and shared experience. Elias practiced the rituals with careful attention. He found himself fascinated by the way Leora's species combined logic with instinct, using subtle gestures, pheromonal signals, and neural resonance to communicate far more than words ever could. Despite the distance between their species, Elias discovered a strange rhythm in their cooperation. Leora would demonstrate a technique, he would mimic it, adjusting instinctively, and they would repeat until the motion flowed naturally between them. There were missteps, moments when he nearly faltered, but Leora's guidance was precise yet patient. One afternoon, as the alien sun bathed the city in gold and violet, Elias and Leora were sent on a field exercise, a test of their teamwork and adaptability. They were instructed to navigate the surrounding jungles to retrieve a rare crystal known for its role in Aelorian bonding rituals. The jungle was unlike anything Elias had ever encountered. Trees spiraled toward the sky, their bark pulsing faintly as though breathing. Strange creatures flitted between branches, some glowing with soft light, others so camouflaged that he almost stepped on them. The air was thick and humid, carrying scents that triggered instinctual reactions he couldn't identify. "Stay close," Leora warned, her voice calm but insistent. She moved ahead with precision, scanning the ground and canopy for danger. Elias followed, using both caution and intuition. Minutes turned into hours, and the deeper they went, the more treacherous the terrain became. At one point, a series of vines, thick and sinewy, blocked their path. Leora studied them, then glanced at him. "Human, I require a solution. We can't cut them, they're part of the ecosystem, but if we loosen this section and use leverage, we can move them without damage." He demonstrated his plan, placing rocks strategically to act as fulcrums. The vines shifted, creating a safe passage. Leora watched, her many-faceted eyes reflecting the success. "Resourceful," she said simply. Elias smiled, feeling a quiet pride in his contribution. As they pressed deeper, a low growl echoed from the underbrush. A creature larger than any he had imagined emerged, a quadruped with scales like molten metal and eyes that burned with intelligence. Leora's stance shifted, protective yet calm. "Do not panic," she instructed. "Observe." The creature advanced, but rather than attacking immediately, it circled, assessing them. Elias recalled a technique from his survival training and slowly lowered his posture, avoiding sudden movements. Leora extended a limb, releasing a faint harmonic signal. The creature hesitated, its aggression curbed by the resonance. Elias exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. I think it's waiting for a response, not prey. Leora was not just an alien guide. She was a mirror, showing him how human ingenuity and resilience could complement even the most alien ways of life. Over the next few days, they continued their exercises. Each mission, whether gathering resources or navigating hazardous terrain, strengthened their connection. They began to anticipate each other's moves, reading subtle signals, completing each other's tasks almost instinctively. During one quiet evening, Leora led Elias to a platform overlooking the crystalline city. The light from the structures reflected on her skin, making her shimmer in the dim glow. She spoke softly, almost contemplatively. You are not like others I have met. You do not fear difference. You adapt, you persist. That is unusual. For the first time, Elias felt the hint of something beyond respect, curiosity, perhaps even admiration. But he reminded himself to stay focused. The bond was still new, still a test. The first formal bonding ritual arrived on the 7th day. The chamber was circular, lined with glowing crystals that pulsed gently. Leora guided Elias to the center. The air hummed as the crystals activated, sending subtle neural signals through the environment. Elias felt a tingling at the base of his skull, a connection that was not entirely his own. Focus on understanding, not control, Leora instructed. This is a partnership, not dominance. He allowed himself to sense the patterns, the signals, the flow of thought emanating from Leora. Slowly, he began to synchronize with her, his mind brushing against hers in ways that were strange, intimate, and illuminating. Images of the jungle, of challenges overcome, of moments where they had relied on each other, flashed in his mind. He realized that trust was not given lightly by this species. It had to be earned through action, thought, and persistence. When the ritual ended, Elias opened his eyes. He felt connected, not just to Leora, but to her perspective, her thought processes, her understanding of the world. And as he looked at her, he sensed she felt the same. Your mind is compatible, Leora said, a note of approval in her tone. Perhaps more than I expected. It was about showing that humans could rise to the challenge of truly understanding another species, respecting it, learning from it, and forming bonds that could last a lifetime. As they left the chamber, side by side, Elias felt a spark of something he did not fully name yet. Perhaps it was admiration. Perhaps it was something deeper, a connection born not of words but of shared experience, of trust earned through action and thought. Whatever it was, he knew this mission would change him forever. And somewhere deep inside, he felt that Cytherea and Leora would never be the same again either. The city glowed beneath the twin moons, the night alive with possibility. Elias took a deep breath, ready for the challenges ahead, knowing that whatever came next, he would not face it alone. The day began with a thin mist curling through the crystalline city of Cytherea. Captain Elias Ward awoke early, the memories of the first bonding ritual still vivid in his mind. The neural connection he shared with Leora had been unlike anything he had experienced. He could sense her thought patterns, the way she analyzed every detail, her precision and her caution. And yet, beneath that meticulous logic, he detected something that felt like curiosity, perhaps even a hint of respect for him. He dressed quickly and made his way to the training chambers. Leora was already there, standing silently near a wall that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. Her attention was sharp, her body poised as if waiting for some unspoken signal. Today, she said, her voice calm yet commanding, we will move beyond observation. The Council has tasked us with gathering the luminescent Ethra crystal. It grows only in the deeper regions of the Erythian forest. The journey will test our coordination, resourcefulness, and resilience. Then let's make sure we don't disappoint. The plants seemed alive in ways beyond biology. Leaves shimmered with internal light, and the air carried a faint hum, as if vibrating with energy. Strange birds with translucent wings fluttered overhead, their songs harmonizing in a way that felt almost musical. Elias kept his senses alert, knowing that beauty in Cytherea often came with hidden dangers. As they entered the forest, the shadows deepened and the mist grew thicker. The trees were massive, their branches twisting skyward and roots sprawled across the ground like living networks. Leora moved confidently, leading the way with subtle gestures. Elias followed, noticing how her movements were precise and calculated, as if she could sense the safest path instinctively. After an hour of careful navigation, they reached a narrow chasm that blocked their path. Water flowed swiftly through the gap, and the banks were slick with moss. Leora paused, scanning the area. Human, she said, Your perspective may be useful here. Or better yet, we could create a pulley system with the rocks over there to swing across safely. The crossing was smooth, and they continued onward, their rhythm increasingly synchronized. Hours passed as they ventured deeper into the forest. The air grew heavy, filled with the scent of unfamiliar plants and the occasional sharp tang of minerals. Elias noticed that some of the flora emitted tiny sparks of light when touched, a defense mechanism against predators. Leora explained these phenomena, and Elias marveled at how alien and yet systematic everything was. Suddenly, the ground trembled. A deep rumble echoed through the forest, shaking loose leaves and small branches. Elias froze. "What is that?" he whispered. Leora's eyes narrowed. "A predator, large, highly intelligent. We must be cautious." Ahead, partially hidden by mist, a massive creature emerged. Its skin glistened with iridescent scales, and it had 6 legs, each ending in sharp claws. Its eyes, glowing faintly, were fixed on them. Elias felt a surge of adrenaline, but he forced himself to remain calm. "Human," Leora said. "Observe and respond." Drawing on his training, he crouched slightly, avoiding sudden movements. He remembered that predators often tested confidence before attacking. Slowly, he moved his hands to show non-aggression while keeping his eyes on the creature. Leora mirrored his stance, her presence steadying him. The predator advanced cautiously, circling them, assessing. Elias noticed faint patterns on its skin, almost like a language of stripes and flashes. He realized the creature was intelligent, communicating in ways he could not yet understand. "Do not provoke it," Leora whispered. "Respond with caution and observation." He activated it, projecting subtle flashes that mirrored the predator's markings. The creature paused, tilting its head, and then stepped back slightly. "Impressive," Leora said quietly. "Your adaptability, it is unusual for your species." Sometimes instinct and observation can solve problems faster than strength. The crystals pulsed with a soft blue light embedded in the forest floor like fragments of the night sky. Leora motioned for Elias to follow her approach. "Extraction requires care," she explained. "Damaging the crystal will disrupt its growth and the forest's ecosystem. We must act precisely." He noticed that the crystals were connected by faint tendrils, almost like roots, and each crystal's pulse responded to touch and pressure. He carefully calculated how to lift a crystal without breaking the connections. Using a combination of his hands and small tools, he guided Leora in the extraction. Together, they removed a sizable crystal intact. Leora examined it closely, nodding. "Your methods are effective. You respect the balance of this world. That is rare." On the return journey, the forest proved even more challenging. Night fell quickly on Zithuria, and the mist thickened, obscuring their path. Elias felt the weight of the mission, knowing that one wrong move could lead to injury or worse. Leora remained calm, guiding him with subtle signals and precise instructions. Suddenly, a rift opened in the ground beneath them, unstable and dangerous. Elias froze, heart pounding. Leora's gaze met his, and in that moment no words were needed. Together, they executed a maneuver, using vines and rocks to stabilize their footing and cross safely. Elias realized that his confidence in her was mirrored by her confidence in him. They had formed a partnership built not on words or ceremony, but on trust, observation, and shared experience. By the time they returned to the city, exhaustion weighed on them, but so did a sense of accomplishment. Leora turned to Elias as they stepped into the soft glow of the city's lights. "You have learned quickly," she said, "and you have adapted even in situations where instinct alone might have failed. That is commendable." He was beginning to understand the rhythm of Zithuria, the logic of its inhabitants, and the subtle ways in which human ingenuity could complement alien methods. Leora sat beside him, her many-faceted eyes reflecting the soft glow of the city lights. "Your species is remarkable," she said quietly. "You do not merely survive, you adapt, innovate, and endure. That is why humans are significant." They had faced danger, relied on each other, and emerged stronger. And though the bond was still new, he sensed that it would only deepen as they continued to navigate the challenges of Zithuria together. As he closed his eyes that night, Elias felt a sense of calm determination. He had faced fear, adapted to an alien world, and earned the respect of a species far older and wiser than his own. And alongside Leora, he knew that he could face whatever challenges lay ahead, whether from the forest, rival factions, or the unknown trials of the bond itself. The stars above Zithuria shimmered through the translucent canopy, and Elias felt the weight of possibility pressing gently on him. He was no longer just a visitor on this world. He was part of its story now, and part of Leora's. And as he drifted to sleep, he knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, and perhaps a deeper understanding of the bond they were beginning to share. The calm of Zithuria's crystalline city did not last long. As dawn broke over the glowing spires, alarms rang softly, a harmonic chime that carried urgency rather than panic. Elias was still stretching, his mind foggy from sleep, when Leora appeared at his door. Her presence carried an unmistakable tension. "Captain Ward," she said, her voice clipped. "The Council has detected movement near the northern border, unidentified ships approaching rapidly. We suspect they belong to the Arithians." The Arithians were a rival alien faction, known for their aggression and suspicion of outsiders. Humans had never encountered them directly, but their reputation had spread quickly through Zithuria. "How serious is this?" he asked. "Serious enough to mobilize defensive units," Leora replied, "but your cooperation is required. The Council trusts your insight in strategy and adaptation." Leora guided Elias to a tactical observation platform that overlooked the northern plains. Through the translucent glass, he could see shapes approaching, sleek, dark ships cutting through the atmosphere with silent speed. Their design was angular, menacing, and efficient, a stark contrast to Zithuria's organic elegance. Elias studied their formation, noting patterns and potential weaknesses. "They fly in a tight V formation," he observed. "It limits their flexibility. If we can disrupt their coordination, we might buy ourselves time. Simultaneously, we can create controlled obstructions, force them into a predictable path." Elias coordinated the placement of decoy energy beacons, while Leora monitored the Arithian ship's movements. Every decision mattered. The slightest miscalculation could lead to catastrophic damage. As the Arithians drew closer, the tension was palpable. Elias felt his pulse quicken, not from fear, but from focus. He had faced dangerous situations before, but never one that tested both strategy and cooperation on this scale. The first wave of ships detected the beacons. Sensors lit up, and several vessels veered toward the decoys. Elias and Leora held their positions, watching the pattern unfold. It worked partially. Some ships continued toward the city, forcing defensive units to engage. Leora turned to Elias. "We must anticipate their adaptation. Humans excel at improvisation. What do you suggest?" "Then let us proceed." Elias felt a thrill of satisfaction. Their plan was working. But then the situation escalated. One of the larger Arithian ships broke formation, aiming directly for the observation platform where they stood. The defensive shields flared, struggling to contain the energy surge. "Move!" Leora shouted. They dove toward a side passage, barely avoiding a concentrated blast that shook the platform. Elias' heart raced as he realized how close they had come to disaster. "Your instincts were sharp," Leora said as they reached safety. "Few could react so quickly." They adapted to the Arithians' tactics, setting traps, misdirecting attacks, and ensuring minimal damage to the city. Elias marveled at how Leora's species could process information and make decisions at such speed, yet how human creativity could offer solutions the Elorians had never considered. Amid the chaos, Elias noticed a group of Arithian drones advancing toward a residential sector. Without hesitation, he turned to Leora. "We need to divert them now. Follow my lead." The drones hesitated, then altered course, giving the residents time to evacuate. Leora's gaze met his. "Your decision saved lives. That is commendable." Citizens began to emerge cautiously, expressions a mixture of relief and awe. Leora turned to Elias, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the city lights. "You have proven your value, not only to me but to all of Zithuria. Your species, your creativity and adaptability, they are rare. You have earned trust today. You taught me how to think differently, how to see the world through your eyes." The bond they shared through the neural link deepened as their minds processed the day's events together. As they returned to the city's core, they were met by the council. Elders with crystalline appendages and luminescent patterns studied them carefully. "Captain Ward," one elder began, "your actions today have demonstrated not only skill but courage. You have faced a threat that could have destroyed our city and prevented catastrophe. We acknowledge your role in our survival. You have shown that we can trust you as an ally. You have proven your worth not just to me, but to your allies and to yourself. That is meaningful. Perhaps we are beginning to understand each other beyond mere necessity." He had faced fear, navigated alien strategy, and earned the respect of a species far older and wiser than his own. He realized that Zithuria was no longer just a mission. It was a place where humans could prove their worth, not through domination or conquest, but through ingenuity, courage, and empathy. Leora's thoughts brushed against his mind gently. You did well today, human. You adapt, you survive, and you care. Elias responded silently, sending a wave of acknowledgement and gratitude. I could not have done it without your guidance. The connection lingered as he drifted to sleep, the stars above Zithuria shimmering faintly through the translucent canopy. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, perhaps greater than those faced today. But for the first time, Elias felt confident that together, he and Leora could face anything the universe threw at them. And somewhere deep inside, he sensed that the bond forming between them was no longer just about survival or duty. It was about understanding, trust, and perhaps the beginnings of something far more profound, a connection that could transcend the boundaries of species, culture, and even worlds. The city below remained quiet, yet alive with energy. The hum of the crystals, the soft light of the buildings, and the faint rustle of wind through the trees all spoke of resilience, of life continuing despite adversity. Elias closed his eyes, ready to face the coming days, knowing that he was no longer alone, and that together he and Leora had already begun to shape the future of two worlds. The sun had barely risen over Zithuria when alarms rang through the crystalline city again. This time, the threat was closer, more personal. The Arithians had returned, faster and more organized than before, and intelligence suggested that their target was not just the city but the council itself. Elias and Leora met immediately at the tactical observation deck. The tension was thick, even heavier than during the previous attack. Leora's expression was sharp, her attention divided between the approaching ships and Elias. Captain Ward, she said, her voice controlled but urgent, this is no longer a test. The Arithians are prepared for us. They have adapted to our defenses. We must act quickly, and you must trust your instincts. One group will attempt a direct assault on the city. The other will move through the Arithian forest to flank us. They anticipate our defensive strategies. We cannot rely solely on preparation. We must improvise. Elias took a squad to the northern forest, using the dense foliage as cover, while Leora stayed with the city's defensive units. His mission was clear: intercept the flanking Arithians before they could reach the city's core. The forest was thick and treacherous. Elias led his team carefully, noting every rustle, every shimmer of movement. The Arithians were fast, but Elias had an advantage. He knew the terrain better than they did, and his human intuition allowed him to predict paths they might take. Keep close, he instructed, his voice low. We cannot underestimate them. They are clever, but they are not familiar with the forest. Use that. A small group of Arithian scouts advanced through a narrow ravine. Elias crouched, signaling his team to stay silent. Use the terrain, he whispered. He instructed his team to position themselves strategically, using fallen logs and crystal formations as cover. Elias then triggered a series of reflective panels he had prepared, casting blinding light toward the scouts. Confused, the Arithians scattered. Leora's thoughts brushed against his mind through the bond. Clever human, you understand patterns quickly, but more are coming. Elias felt the warning as a pulse of urgency. I see them. We need to act now. A sudden roar echoed through the trees. A massive Arithian warbeast charged toward them, its size dwarfing anything Elias had faced before. The ground shook with each step. Team members froze, fear written plainly on their faces. Focus, Elias barked. We've adapted before, we can do it again. Elias noticed a weak joint near its legs and signaled a squad member to target it with precise energy nets. The beast stumbled but was far from defeated. Leora's guidance flowed through the bond. Now human, redirect its path toward the ravine. Use the natural constraints. Elias acted quickly, guiding the team to maneuver the beast. Using pulleys, ropes, and well-placed energy barriers, they funneled it into a confined space where it could no longer charge freely. Exhausted but triumphant, the team watched as the warbeast paused, immobilized temporarily. You anticipated its movements perfectly, Leora's voice echoed in his mind. Few species can think so quickly under pressure. Elias felt a surge of pride. We are learning from each other. That is our strength. But their relief was brief. More Arithian scouts emerged, coordinated and relentless. Elias realized that alone they could not hold the line. He needed Leora's insight and the city's defenses to succeed. He activated a communication link with her. Leora, I need a coordinated strike. Can you direct energy barriers to the ridge while I lead the scouts into the trap? The combination of human ingenuity and Elorian precision was unstoppable. The Arithians were forced into a narrow pass where defensive units could neutralize them without unnecessary harm. After hours of careful strategy, the forest fell quiet. The Arithians had been repelled, their forces scattered, and the city remained intact. Ilias' body ached, every muscle tense from the day's exertion, yet a profound sense of accomplishment surged through him. Leora appeared at his side as the last of the Arithians retreated. Her eyes glimmered with something unfamiliar, respect, perhaps even admiration. You have performed exceptionally, human. Today you were not only a strategist but a protector. You ensured survival and minimized casualties. That is rare. The elder's expressions were solemn but approving. Captain Ward, your actions today demonstrate courage, intellect, and adaptability. You have earned not just our trust but the respect of all Zithuria. Your presence among us is significant. Few species can do so while maintaining both calm and resourcefulness. Humanity has potential we did not fully anticipate. Ilias could feel the bond between them, stronger than ever, their minds exchanging more than strategy, thoughts, understanding, and a deeper appreciation for each other. Today was intense, Ilias said, breaking the silence. I never imagined a mission like this would be so personal. You protected lives. That is meaningful, more than simple duty. Perhaps the bond is evolving beyond necessity. That is unusual yet valuable. Yet through observation, adaptation, and cooperation, he had helped protect a world far different from his own. Humanity, he realized, had the capacity not only to survive among the stars, but to thrive through intelligence, courage, and empathy. Leora's presence brushed against his thoughts gently. You are remarkable, human. You adapt. You endure. You care. Ilias responded silently, sending a wave of acknowledgement. I could not have done it without your guidance. Together, we are stronger. The stars shone faintly through Zithuria's misty skies, the twin moons casting soft light over the city. Ilias felt a quiet determination settle over him. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but he knew that whatever they faced, he and Leora would face it together. And deep inside, he sensed that the bond forming between them was no longer merely professional. It was about trust, understanding, and perhaps the beginnings of something far more profound, a connection that transcended species, culture, and worlds. The city remained alive with energy, despite the recent chaos. Ilias closed his eyes, ready to face whatever lay ahead, confident that the lessons learned today would guide them through the trials yet to come. The morning light filtered through Zithuria's crystalline towers, casting rainbows across the streets. Captain Ilias Ward stood on a balcony overlooking the city, his mind replaying the events of the past days. The Arithians had been driven off, the city had survived, and yet Ilias sensed that the greatest challenge still lay ahead. Leora approached silently, her presence calm but commanding. Captain Ward, she said, her voice carrying the weight of thought and observation, the Council has convened an emergency assembly. They wish to discuss the future of the human presence on Zithuria. Your actions have demonstrated your worth, but there are questions only you can answer. I will answer honestly and clearly. The assembly chamber was vast, a circular hall lined with glowing crystals that pulsed gently with life. The council sat in elevated seats, their forms shimmering in the soft light. Leora led Ilias to the center where the elder's eyes focused on him. Captain Ward, one elder began, you have faced challenges beyond expectation. You have navigated our world, protected our citizens, and repelled the Arithian threat. Yet we must understand your intentions. Why should humans remain among us? Every challenge we face, we meet with thought, empathy, and courage. We do not seek to dominate, but to build trust and create alliances. That is why humans belong here among the stars and here on Zithuria. She gave him a subtle nod, an acknowledgement of their shared connection. It is both. We have learned to anticipate each other, to trust each other completely. That bond allows us to face challenges that neither of us could handle alone. It has grown through experience, cooperation, and understanding. And through it, we have discovered that humans can be trusted, valued, and respected, not just as allies, but as partners. I am ready. This will be your final trial, to demonstrate your strategy, courage, and the strength of your bond with Leora. The bond between them allowed communication without words, subtle cues and shared thought guiding their actions. When the Arithians arrived, they came in greater numbers than before, their ships cutting through the sky with precision and intent. Elias observed their formation carefully, noting both strengths and weaknesses. He turned to Leora. "We need a layered approach. Decoys, terrain advantage, and direct engagement combined. And we must anticipate their adaptation. They've learned from previous encounters." Human ingenuity combined with Aelorian precision created traps and diversions that minimized risk to Zethuria's citizens. Every decision Elias made was calculated, adaptive, and bold. At one point, a large Arithian warship descended, aiming directly for the city's central tower. Elias assessed quickly. "Leora, we need to redirect it toward the energy barriers. If we time it correctly, the barriers will contain it without destroying it." Humans and Aelorians moved as one, each complementing the other's strengths. Human creativity introduced solutions the Aelorians had not considered, while Aelorian precision ensured that every plan was executed flawlessly. During a critical moment, Elias found himself separated from the main force, facing a squad of Arithian combatants in the dense forest. Leora's presence in his mind was immediate. "Trust your instincts, human. We are linked. Move as one." Elias followed her guidance, using the environment to outmaneuver the squad. Fallen branches, crystal outcrops, and light projections created illusions that disoriented the Arithians. In a coordinated move, Elias trapped the squad, neutralizing them without unnecessary harm. When the battle finally ended, the Arithians retreated completely. Zethuria was safe. The citizens emerged cautiously, cheering, their awe evident. Elias looked to Leora, both of them exhausted but exhilarated. "You did it," Leora said softly. "We did it, together." Elias nodded. "No one could have done it alone. This was human ingenuity and Aelorian precision combined. That's the real victory. We welcome humanity as part of our world. That is what makes your species remarkable." Elias felt warmth in her words, a connection that had grown from trust, cooperation, and shared experience. It was a bond beyond simple understanding, a recognition of each other's value, intentions, and character. That evening, they walked together through the city. The streets were alive with celebrations, though tempered by reflection on the recent dangers. Citizens of Zethuria paused to nod in acknowledgement, recognizing the human who had proven not only bravery but ingenuity. Elias glanced at Leora. "You know, when I first arrived, I wasn't sure how this mission would go. I didn't expect to find anything beyond duty. But now, I feel like we've created something more than that. We've earned it together." Humanity had not only survived, but had shown its worth. Adaptable, creative, courageous, and empathetic, humans could build bridges, solve problems, and inspire trust even among alien worlds. He turned to Leora. "Tomorrow, we continue learning. There's always more to understand, more ways to grow, but tonight we celebrate. Not just for us, but for what humans and Aelorians can accomplish together." He had adapted, persevered, and formed a bond that transcended species. Humanity, he realized, could thrive not through domination, but through ingenuity, empathy, and courage. And alongside Leora, he had found a partnership that embodied every strength of his species. The city hummed softly around them, the crystal's light pulsing gently as though reflecting the heartbeat of the world itself. Elias and Leora stood together, side by side, aware that this was only the beginning. Zethuria had accepted humanity, and humanity had proven itself worthy. The stars above shimmered, infinite and inviting. And as Elias looked at them, he felt certain that humans could rise to any challenge, face any danger, and create bonds that spanned worlds. He had arrived as a visitor, but he would stay as a partner, a protector, and a friend. And somewhere deep in their shared connection, he knew that he and Leora had forged something enduring, a bond built on respect, trust, and shared experience, a testament to the power of understanding and the courage of humanity. The night stretched across Zethuria, calm, vibrant, and full of possibility. Elias smiled, feeling the quiet pride of achievement and the promise of tomorrow. Together, human and Aelorian, they had shown that even the greatest challenges could be overcome through trust, cooperation, and ingenuity. And that, he realized, was what truly made humanity remarkable.